Oh, we need Kathy back. yeah, exactly. Nadine's hungry. Yeah, exactly. All right, so okay. We stopped at this one. How will staff handle it if council members want to have town halls in their own districts? So back in December, you decided that you were going to discuss that during the January priority setting session, concern about staff capacity, which is always the case with holding those town halls. Comments in the July was that you did actually have those town halls through the State of the City address that the mayor conducted, and you had 4 of those, as I understand it. And so one question that came up was how to decide where to hold those. And that's so a question we'll come back to. And then secondly, when can council members ask for help from staff if a council member wants to hold a town hall meeting on a specific issue? So crime, fire, whatever it might be. So maybe dealing with the first question first with the mayor's state of the city.
So I think after two years of 4 town halls, I think we're looking at consolidating them into maybe 2 or possibly 3 next year. One at a more central location held in the evening hours that make it easier for residents to attend, and then having one again at the senior center because we had a really good turnout, and it was coordinated with the lunch so that they were able to attend, at a time that was good. Plus, they had lunch, so that was even better. But so we're looking at them to be at least those 2 for sure to be more accessible to our residents. Okay. So we're just experimenting as to what works best for our city.
Okay, good. Are there any other comments from council members about the mayor's town halls? I guess not, because it was really just a question, and you've answered the question on how will those be determined. Then the second question was a little bit broader, and Deanna, I thought I might turn it to you first, just from a staff capacity point of view, as to how you would envision this occurring.
So I think the first question is there a need for it to occur on the part of the council? And the second part is then what resources? This is a very active, has already been acknowledged community. Almost any given night, there is a community meeting and sometimes I do need to manage staff resources who do 3 meetings a night in a row. And so I do want to acknowledge the resource issues. But generally to get to the other part of the question is, well, when are they held? In instances where we have convened a meeting in a community is after a significant shooting where the community expressed the need to gather. I thought that was worthy of having a meeting in the community, not necessarily council district focused, but just topic focused. There is the regional issue of airport noise, and that is throughout the whole South Bay. And so having and planning for a meeting also is because it's a regional issue where other cities have had similar meetings. It does lend itself to having a meeting specific in Santa Clara to hear the residents who we've not heard except for incidental emails coming in, but a focused meeting has not occurred. Mm-hmm. But generally, that's how we've handled more on topic specific rather than district specific.
So if a council member says there's an issue going on in my district, my residents are concerned, would that person talk to you about it then, or how would you envision that happening?
So I would imagine yes, and then we would go through and see what are the opportunities and what resources, if we have resources to put available. It sounds like they're already happening, though. I'm looking at Councilmember O'Neill's model of having them monthly, not necessarily by district, but just, it sounds like by topic and an outside location. So I would really want to hear from the council, because this is a resource issue, and I'd want to understand whether there is an interest in moving in this direction as a council, because then I have to look at resource allocation and talk about what may be delayed and how we assemble those resources.
So what are the comments from council?
I've actually had two community meetings when an issue occurred. One was a shooting in the area, and then there was a bad fire that involved, it was a Tesla in somebody's garage. And so because like in the Rivermark community, there are a lot of Teslas. So I approached the city staff, and the police chief, Chief Kelly, had two other firefighters come out and talk to, the neighbors that were concerned or had Teslas, and just how to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so the city was very responsive. I mean, and then with the shooting, it was organized right after the incident, and so it was timely when it's, first and foremost in people's minds. I think is very important, to capture it, because then you'll get the most response, of course, and because, everybody's time is valuable, so we don't want to waste people's time. But I know, like for community meetings, we were talking about, resources where to have. I mean, I've thought about having my own and just having it at a community park, like Agnew Park, for instance, has a community room. Lick Mill Park has a community room. If I could just go ahead and use that space and just invite people to come, I mean, without using city resources, I mean, I would be more than happy to do that. And just if something comes up where, I need to get city input, or, just take questions and follow up, I'm happy to do that as well, because I mean, I think that I can handle that. And instead of, having to engage the whole, city staff. But like with the other incidents, like we had, city, our audio, visual department came out and recorded it, and which was really beneficial, because there were actually over 1,000 people that viewed that incident about the shooting. But going forward, I mean, if we were able to use, say, those community spaces like in the parks, and we could, I think we can handle it on our own. But I would like to do something like that, and but find out, do I have to pay for the room, or things like that. I mean, I wouldn't mind having to do that, but
Those answers.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like when council members have a meeting on your own, you call it, you do all of the work, you show up at a restaurant, whatever you do. That is something you've been doing, you're going to do, there's no staff involved. Same as what you're mentioning, it would be the same thing, except your question is using a city facility. So that would be a question then for the city manager to follow up and maybe get a response back as to whether there's any consideration on charge. Is that correct, or?
So we could work on a council policy, if that's the direction of the council, on providing those at a free or discounted use or something of that sort, so that for purposes of engaging the community and bring something back over the next couple of months.
And then if you're going to go down that path, then you probably would want some guidelines and limitations and so forth, so that there's some kind of equity between who's doing what in the city facility. So, okay. And then that would be more generalized topics as opposed to a police shooting. There's a specific topic where there's a concern, where then what I'm hearing is then you talk to the city manager, and city manager may say, yes, we need to organize something because it's very specific. And then a judgment call is made that resources need to get applied. Is that a fair
An
representation?
example recently was the parking lot across the street from City Hall. We were getting a high number of resident complaints. It didn't involve any council member, but we on our own just pulled the community together and had a meeting in the chambers and heard their issues and have been working with the neighbors to address the issues.
Okay.
So we just did it. That's an example of just trying to get to the issue quickly.
And that's typical city government practice, is to engage the residents anyway on issues. So that will continue, in other words, regular practice will continue. But then if council members have a particular interest in a meeting on a topic, you would talk to Deanna, and then a judgment call needs to be made as to whether it rises to the level of putting resources into it. Is that fair? Okay, we'll write that up. Okay, good. All right. Okay, next door. I think you've kind of addressed this one a bit, but okay, go ahead, Debbie.
Yeah, if we're going to engage in some kind of communication in these social media platforms,
Yeah.
we need to have some kind of consistency.
Yeah.
Because what I learned from that one seminar was just great. I mean, I can't even begin just to listen to other council members and how when they got engaged in something, how it just blew up and then they had to get back out of it. So it was good advice, I think, for us as being political and serving the needs of the community. So I just think that we need to have some kind of structure.
Yeah. So this is really broader.
Guidelines,
This is
something.
broader than just next door. This is guidelines
We're talking
on
everything.
social media.
Because on Nextdoor, once they know who you are, then it's either going to be good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's no between.
Yeah.
So
I would add that in Sunnyvale, the protocol amongst council members were specifically on community issues is to post what the city put out. Because so many times misinformation can grow and that way it's fact checked or issued on the part of the city. I also want to acknowledge that we can try to contact Nextdoor and see how the boundaries are established and help them get some information from them as to how they go about setting their boundaries and how that might work towards making modifications.
Okay, so that would be a question as a follow-up step then, okay? But I think the answer, what's the answer to this, though? The answer that you said in December is that no, council members do not only communicate with people in their districts, and you've been reinforcing that today.
I also think that it's a personal issue between council members, how involved they want to get on any social media. I think it's really not, it's not going to be enforceable for us to say, here's our policy and we're never going to enforce or we do not engage on any social media. That's not the reality of what's happening. And there are going to be unique situations in each district in the city that need addressing. So, and wasn't Nextdoor, isn't that supposed to be like if you're selling your, a bed frame or something? I mean, I know I get complaints on my Nextdoor, keep politics out of this. Why are you bringing in the politics? So it's not just Nextdoor. I mean, that's just one medium, but it's, again, we have council members very active and council members that are not active at all and everything in between. So I think it has to be, they're individually elected. We all are, and we make our own decisions as to what we want to, post and what we do. But I don't know how we're going to ever, standardize or
There's no police.
monitor, police, anything that we do because we all have different ways of how we communicate with our residents.
But I think, Mayor, I agree definitely. But I think and it's not just here in Santa Clara. I think it's nationwide. I think there was a case that was recently decided in which like people were blocked from or the White House was blocking people from Twitter, for instance. And so there was a judgment saying, no, you can't do that. And so it came down the path. And so then it impacted every elected official. And so So changes had to be made. So I think going forward, even in future councils, people that, depending again how much they want to be engaged on social media, there will be policies as a result of that ruling, and that people should be made aware of, like, the mayor was saying, I have 2 separate accounts now, and even on my Twitter and my LinkedIn, I mean, it's like so ridiculous. But at the same time, there are guidelines out there to make sure that, nobody is violating, certain, rules and regulations. And I guess it's a good checks and balances as well. But, I mean, it's a pain in the neck at times, but at the same time, it keeps us honest, basically. And so, but I think going forward, yeah, it's probably going to continue to evolve, and things will change as a result.
Having some guidelines, having some training.
Yeah.
So you're going to unblock me, Kathy? Okay, very good.
Right,
Finally, okay.
exactly. Okay. So the next one has to do with your council meetings. And the question that you addressed before was, should the mayor call in the council member from a district where the project is located to speak first? And in December, you agreed that it would be optional, depending on the council member's preference. But what has actually been the practice, and Mayor?
Sometimes they want to, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so it is optional. It is
Sometimes they
optional.
don't want to talk at all.
Yeah, okay.
So it's
it's-
it's just whoever puts their light on, and
Okay.
there you go.
So it's not a strict protocol, it's optional. Okay. All right. Any other comments from council members on that? Is it, no? Okay. Okay, how can the mayor help individual council members? So are there things that the mayor could be doing to help individual council members with your work? How about answering all of your constituent calls?
So let's see, how can she help us? I think, yeah, she is accessible. I'll give her that. She does go to district things when we have them,
Okay.
if needed, and kind of, it's a backup. It's like having a partner. So it's, she's well, she understands the issues. It's easy for, she's got institutional knowledge that will help us. And in most cases, a lot of people want to see her instead of us. So, we're just the tag along. But, it's they do like our mayor. I mean, they like her. They think that she's funny and she gets things done. And it's good to have her with us when we go to different events.
So it sounds like it's the same comments as in December, being accessible, available, accompanying council members in your districts to things.
If they want me, I'll go. The one that really asks me the most is Councilmember Watanabe from District 1, I think, because there's a lot of activity in that district. So she's contacted a lot, and then I accompany her when she's on particular meetings and that, if she wants me to. So if anybody else wants me to, I'll go as well.
It was unfortunate. It was during council break, so I was out of the country and I wasn't able to attend like National Night Out, the Northside Library 5th anniversary, and so I was grateful to the mayor to be able to be there and be my representative and give speak some words on my behalf that I'd sent to her before I left, and so she, I mean, we really have a wonderful mayor that really does make herself available. I mean, she didn't take any break over the break, but she makes herself available, and that's what the community needs to see as well. It's part of the openness and transparency. You're available. You're not hiding from the community, and the community, they appreciate that. They really do. So thank you, Mayor Gilmore.
Thank you, but I wanted to say a National Night Out, I was accompanied by the city manager and the police chief, and we tried to hit every single district in Santa Clara. I think we almost did. I think we pretty much did. It was a whirlwind night, but we wanted to show every district that we were, there and available and listening to the concerns. And in your district, was that your district, Kathy? They wanted the bathroom at Live, yeah. We couldn't even go to that park without having that answer. So, so yes, we did all that, but
Thank the city manager.
yeah,
The city manager made you look really good.
yeah.
Good, okay. So, okay, now back in December, this question came up and this has been answered already. The question was, does the council want to be reflected by district? We don't need to go over this today because you've already dealt with this. This is on your agenda, so we just reflected this on this slide. So,
I think it's already been done.
so I think that went to your governance committee and then to the city council.
No, I think the staff took care of it.
It what?
Staff took care of it.
Oh, the staff took care of it, yeah, okay. So that's done. So then the final slide here, there were some other issues that were raised by council members, so we'll just need to go through that. Should we have a Facebook page for our district, and should we coordinate with staff or just be individually responsible as council members? So that's question one as another question.
I think at this point, we've been individually responsible for our Facebook pages, since I don't know how the city can monitor our personal or our individual Facebook pages.
Kathy made one for a district.
Well, as a representative of that district, is there a district Facebook page? We don't have a district Facebook page?
Kathy, I'm sure, is it labeled District 1?
It says
Or does it say Kathy Watanabe?
Kathy Watanabe, District 1. Yeah, Councilmember District 1. But I mean, I put information, I mean, it's not just about District 1, it's all city related. City, but it's just, I keep it city related, focused. It's not personal.
Realistically, you would need to update it yourself and provide that information. And then do you get the information though through what, the city manager's blog, through information that's sent out, or just other information you have?
Information that might be, informative to the community.
Okay.
I have my mayor Facebook page, but I gather information from what the city is putting out, and
Okay.
sometimes share a lot of information
Okay.
that the city already puts out, but I just piggyback on that.
Okay. So I think the answer is that you can have your Facebook pages, of course, for your district, and then you would be individually responsible for keeping that updated. Okay. When can a council member ask staff for help on an issue in a district?
Should be any time.
Anytime. Yeah, Deanna, do you want to comment on that?
I feel as though this is one where council members already reach out.
They do.
Even down to when there's a traffic incident or a crime that just occurred. Sometimes folks want to push it out, help them with the right information. So I would say whatever, I feel like what's working, what we're doing now is working.
Okay. And then if a council member isn't sure, then I would think that the council member would simply contact Deanna and say, is this something that the city staff can help with or not? Right? Okay. Okay. And then number 14, can Deanna's blog include what is going on in the districts? So you provide a lot of information in your blog. How could that relate to the districts?
I would be interested in hearing from council about what specifically
Okay.
is being sought after. I do acknowledge, as we started the conversation, our city organization is built for citywide service delivery. So knowing districts or just reporting that naturally is not institutionalized. And so in order to not have a hit or miss experience, I would be very interested in what is the council district information being sought and how does that balance against the citywide service delivery.
Good. Comments from council member on that?
Okay, so my question is it going to just focus on districts, or like, my regional meetings, and I've come back to you with information, and I asked how do we disseminate that information, and it's gone onto your blog. So when I come back with something from the water district, or not so much Bosco, or cities association or things of that nature, I know that you put this out on your blog. So should we incorporate that as it's everybody's district though? So that's what I'm kind of like, it's all about the city. I have to look at the city as one. So when we put that little district label on it, I think it confuses people because it's all encompassing of everybody. So I don't know. But, I mean, your blog is something where everybody reads, and you added a newsletter to that now,
And we're adding videos too.
and now videos. So you're, wow, you're like Cecil B. DeMille here. So that to me is more important, is the communication, that people are all getting the communication that they need. Because I know that's a problem. We just have a communication issue. But if this is going to help do that, but I don't want to limit it just to, I want it to be all encompassing, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
The only thing I could suggest is if there's a big issue on something or is a development, which seems to be those are some of the very engaging issues in our community, you may want to say it's this, here's the address of this development and put District 1 next. Just put the location of the district. I wouldn't separate it from anything, just as part of a description as to where it is.
So keep it simple, in other words.
really
Keep it
simple.
very simple.
It's just as a description.
Yeah.
And then council members can look at the information that Deanna puts out and see what's most relevant for you to then disseminate, it sounds like. Okay, any other comments on that? Okay.
So I just want to mention, we're doing news, we have multiple types of new newsletters, both departmental newsletters as well as the City Hall news that we started, the blog, social media information, as well as videos and the Santa Clara Inside, right? It's the one that we just put out, Source, the brochure, the newspaper, Inside, right? Inside Santa Clara. Inside Santa Clara, I'm getting it all wrong. Not the first time this has happened. If there are other approaches to pushing out information, I'm very interested in it because we are trying some new things and getting feedback on, the newsletter was a hit. We're getting a lot of recommendations as well as compliments on that. So interested in the videos and things of that sort.
I like the videos idea. We know how people's attention spans are very short. They like those short 20, 30-second things and other things. I just think that some of the newsletters and other things have to be more readable, more easy to read, because it's a lot of information that people tend to just gloss over. So as reader-friendly as, I'm sorry, but people's attention spans just can't grasp the sheer amount of information, catchy titles, so it makes you want to read, the information. It's just really readable. We have pictures, easy to read, get information out, I think is most important as well. Certainly we can have all the backup information, but there's key things we need to put out there because we're doing a lot of really great things in the city. And we just need to let our residents know what we're doing and what resources are available for them. And the problem is we have so much to put out there, but if we could put it out in, readable, understandable language, then I think it'll be really helpful.
So Deanna's welcoming all ideas for how to make things more readable, welcoming, and sound bites perhaps.
Exactly.
Sound bites help. Okay, so we have now finished going through all of those. Mandy has done an incredible job of capturing the consensus and all of these ideas. So we are going to be preparing a report. We're going to be doing some consolidation and some refinement based on your conversation today, and you'll get that back. So milestones, maybe Deanna, you want to go through the milestones here, some having to do with what's coming up in the city?
Well, I touched on this as part of my opening comments, and I think everybody acknowledges here just the incredible issues with respect to either council representation, council district formations, and just the elections in general. And as well noted that last evening, it does have an impact on service delivery. It does have an impact with respect to workload. And this is just a summary in terms of the 7 elections that I referenced. And of course, there's no doubt that it will definitely impact the administration in some shape or form, and we'll all learn together. The last is just the future council governance session check-in, whether this is working for the city council, whether there's an interest, acknowledging the work that we have ahead of us, and certainly the schedule that's before us with respect to elected offices and positions, and any thoughts from there.
I'm going to chatty one today. I think having the updates right now, because we are still in that hybrid district kind of thing, we're at large, we're elected by district, and having the updates with the city manager, because our time is valuable, her time is valuable.
Yeah.
But I think the staff will review this and see that we're all kind of in the same boat, and that, you know, if we're talking about this, that's even better. And if we can, you know, kind of fine tune some of the things that aren't working, it's better to have that conversation and dialogue on, I don't know when you want to do it again, but I just think with who's coming in and another election coming down the road, that it's important that people understand what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, kind of a thing. So it's the message is on point all the time, so that way there's no kind of, she likes you better than you, and you're getting more than I'm getting, and that whole little child thing that kind of happens when you feel like you're the neglected child. So I think that we've grown from a lot of things that have come. Deanna has been here 2 years, and we've gone through a lot of growing pains. She has corrected a lot of problems that we've had, and we know there's going to be more. And I think that it's a good thing to have the renewal every once in a while to just keep people in check. So that's my thoughts. If that's okay with you?
Comments, Mayor?
Are these our final comments?
No,
Oh,
no, not quite yet.
okay. I just,
Comments on the topic of a future governance
Do this.
check-in.
so I think it's important, and I don't know if we continue with this format or if we start working through the governance committee
Right.
to work on some of these, you know, finer tuned issues. Because I think the most important thing now that I'm seeing is that we really have to evaluate the capacity that we have. We need to evaluate what the capacity is so that we can move forward, because absent that information, it's going to be hard for us to move forward. We've got some big issues facing us. We still have a lot of big issues facing us. And so we need to know how to better work and provide the resources to our staff to get the things done that we need to get done. So really evaluating what's there now and what we need for the future, and getting that, and really having our departments look at what they need. And because we're more than willing to provide it to the city manager and city attorney's office. So I think that's something that's right on the forefront, that I think we can handle some of that through our governance committee. And then the important thing is we need to have the governance committee meetings, because I know that a lot of these committee meetings are where we get some of this stuff done, and I know it does add more work, but we can do a lot of this work there. So I know we cancel a lot of meetings, we extend a lot of meetings, but we actually need to have our marketing and economic development committee and our governance. We're piling up now the things we need to talk about. So I think it's important to move some of this stuff ahead, that we don't have to, you know, wait 6 months and do this.
Yeah.
We can you know, check in on periodic basis and then make recommendations to the full council, and we can move it along more efficiently.
Good. Okay. All right, so wrap up. As I mentioned, we're going to do a report. This really is an opportunity for each council member, and I would invite staff to make just a comment about something that was valuable to you to spending time together today, some aha moment, or just something in the conversation that made an impact on you. So I'm going to pick on Nadine, to start with Nadine. Just something that was helpful about today.
I think just the honest conversation about how districts are going. I think it was good. They're kind of courageous conversations among the council.
Great. Brian.
I think probably the most heartening thing I heard today was the acknowledgement of the resources in our office and understanding that, we're trying to do the best we can, but, some things may take longer than others. And it was helpful for me to hear that. Thanks.
Great. Deanna?
I was heartened by the analogy that my one-on-ones are like dating. Because I love the humor, but I really like this council. I like the people individually. I like how the council is able to function. I know that it gets a lot of media criticism, but this is a very good council to work for, and I have enjoyed it. And so when I heard that, I go, wow, I like them too.
That was good. Raj, what was useful for you today?
The communication part, like how we can communicate within the city, with the city manager and the community itself. And as mentioned, like we should be knowing our limitations, what our resource limitations are. So we should set up our expectations accordingly.
Good. Great. Kathy?
Thank you. I think just where we can improve, where we can continue to improve as a city and as a council, and also to be able to engage with our constituents.
Great. Good. Debbie?
Spending the time with the council and the staff. We don't have a chance to do that other than on agenda day, council day.
Right.
So you don't really have that input from everybody and how they think and how they feel. And, and we understand we have to respect each other's time. It's a partnership. And it's fun to do. I know we just came off a council meeting. We're probably tired, but at the same time, I think it's really good that we're talking about what we need to talk about instead of keeping it in and holding back on certain things. And then that's where that resentment comes in. And you don't want that. I mean, if you want an organization to work efficiently, you need to have communication. So that's, I think, the best thing that we do when we do these.
Good. It's taking time to pause.
Yes.
Yeah. Mayor?
Yeah, I do appreciate the very candid conversation from my council members and the city staff. And I think the biggest issue facing us is really our capacity and as I talked about, evaluating our capacity to work with our city staff. We understand that everyone's stretched, so we need to understand how we can manage more effectively, because I really think the fact that we're stretched doesn't mean we slow anything down, because our residents are not going to accept that. So we need to figure out how to work more efficiently and manage more effectively. And in order to do that, we have to see where the gaps are. I like the city manager language, where the gaps are, and how the council can provide you with resources to fill those gaps. Because I don't want the management, city attorney's office, city manager's office to say that we're not providing them with what they need for all of us to be successful. So I want to make sure we are going to provide that. I think that's important. I also think what I got out of this session is, I'm going to say we're still in district denial about how we're operating now. And I think that it's still going to take time for us to figure that out and our public to figure out. And I think that maybe by the time we do figure it out, things will change, our districts will change, and our situation will change. But in the meantime, we're still operating as a full city. I hope that continues on, but I fear that the reality is going to set in to us a little bit harder than we think it's going to. And I just want for us to be prepared for that, whether it's 6 districts, 10 districts, 3 districts, whatever ends up happening.
I hope you don't have 10.
So, yeah, we'll have 10 people in a district. But other than that, I feel that these are great sessions for us to be, talking to each other and listening to each other about the management and the actual operations of our city.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Teresa?
Okay, I think also that just spending time together and talking more at length and in a little bit more relaxed setting. And so, I mean, I'm hearing from everybody a commitment to wanting still to pursue goals. I think we need to work on refining those goals because when, I think we all feel like the fire hose is attached at our mouths. And so we do need to sift through that and work on that a little bit more. But like I said, I'm impressed by the level of commitment. And I agree. I think we still need to, like Vice Mayor Mahan brought up the idea of like the districts as a voting method versus a governing method. So I think that we need to figure that out because most likely we're going to have some form of districts, but I'm sure we'll be waiting with bated breath to see what happens with the appellate court. But so that particularly as that decision comes out, we're going to have to decide is it a voting method or a governing method? And I think that was an interesting distinction that we had. So, and that's it.
Good. Okay, good. Patricia.
For me, this session really kind of clarified a lot of the issues that were brought up in our first session, and it really put things in much sharper focus. So I think a lot of things for me have become more clear, and my understanding of my fellow council members' expectations around some of these commitments and procedures has become much more clear, and I really appreciate that.
Okay, great. Nora.
I could appreciate the commitment of this council and I see how well they work with each other, as well as them being cognizant and having, listening to the concerns and needs of staff, and being one of those staff members that work with PRAs and following our meeting last night. I appreciate that you're listening and that you see the need for resources. But as a staff member, I'll tell you that our office strives to be transparent and get the work done.
Ruth, last but not least.
So just echoing on what Nora's comments were, my comments were that I was really heartened to hear the really honest conversation amongst the council about its strong desire to have collaborative working relationships amongst itself and with staff, and really probing at what is it that's going to make it more collaborative, more, having a lot of respect for one another. And I thought that was a very good conversation.
Well, my final comments are that you are a very hardworking council. The fact that you were willing to spend some time here today working on how are you going to lead, how are you going to work together is impressive. You had a long council meeting last night. You have a lot of council meetings, but taking time to pause, to kind of sit back and, how are we going to govern? How are we going to handle some practical procedures that you worked on today? That's going to help you be more effective in your role. So it is helpful to take that time. So I just want to thank you for your patience, for your willingness to go through these questions one by one today, and for your participation. And to the staff, thank you for your engagement and helping to prepare all of this. And Kendra, who's sitting way over in the corner, thank you for all of your great work in putting this together as well. And of course, my colleague Mandy, thank you for helping me out today. But it's a pleasure working with all of you. You're a terrific council and terrific staff, and it's really a great opportunity for me to be able to work with you. So thank you, and we are out early.